Yo, what's going on, guys? Today we're going to be taking a look at some of my favorite plays on Draftkings and Yahoo for the Week 9 NFL slate. I did want to start incorporating Yahoo back into the NFL videos. I have been putting Yahoo in my NBA videos, so figured I might as well do it for NFL as well. Just before we get started looking at my favorite plays, first off, I would appreciate it if you guys would drop a like on this video. And as always, feel free to leave any comments down below regarding the slate, or if you just have questions in general, you can comment that down below as well. If you do have any feedback, I always appreciate your guys' feedback. You can leave that down in the comment section. And if you are new to the channel, if this is your first time checking out a video on my channel, thank you so much for clicking on the video. I really appreciate it. Make sure you click that subscribe button down below. Also, be sure to hit the notification bell so that way you get notified every time I upload and you'll never miss out on any of my new videos. But first off, I do want to take a look back at my Week 8 picks before we get started with the Week 9 video. That's something I'm going to do for every week now rather than making a recap video. I used to make a recap video where I'd break down my picks. I'm just going to start doing that in the final look video, go over my picks from last week. So these were my picks from my last week's final look video, Week 8 final look video. I had 5 good picks, 5 bad picks. The good picks were kind of like all the studs I liked. Watson went for 27, Barkley went for 28, Fournette went for 20, Hopkins went for 24. Tannehill was a value quarterback that I liked, and he was pretty good for his salary with 19.4 DraftKings points. But then the value plays were where I kind of missed on. Like, I like Ty Johnson as a value play with how thin the Lions were at running back. Once we got the news that Kamara was out, I think Latavius Murray became a clear option over Ty Johnson. But still, I thought Ty Johnson was at least in play. He just didn't do that good, 4.8 DraftKings points. John Brown I really liked in that matchup against the Eagles. Once we got the concerns with the wind, that game was expected to be pretty windy, so maybe the deep ball wasn't going to be as effective. I thought getting off of John Brown probably made some sense, but either way, 10.4 DraftKings points from him wasn't the best game. A.J. Brown did salvage his day late in that Bucks game with a late touchdown, going for 9.1 DraftKings points, but still wasn't a great play at his salary. Hunter Henry, I liked a lot at tight end, especially with Keenan Allen limited. He only had 8.7 DraftKings points, and then I like the Panthers' defense for a cheap defense, and they really struggle with just 3 DraftKings points. So last week was kind of just like a so-so week. I had 5 decent plays, 5 bad plays. I'll try and get some more decent plays this week. I definitely have a pretty good grasp on this slate. As of Friday, I think we've got a pretty clear indication of how we need to be approaching this slate, who to play. So before we get started looking at some of my favorite picks, I do want to cover some of the injuries and situations we need to watch as of Friday. So right now, James Conner is listed as doubtful as of Friday. This is by far the biggest injury news on the slate. He's listed as doubtful. If he is out, then Jalen Samuels would be probably the best value play on the slate. He's very cheap on both sides. Conner has not practiced all week, so it's very likely that he winds up sitting this game. Then the Bucks tight end situation is I think, something we need to monitor. So O.J. Howard, he's already been ruled out, and Cameron Brate has been limited all week. Tanner Hudson, for the minimum salary for a tight end on DraftKings, also I'm pretty sure he's minimum salary on Yahoo. He would become very interesting as a cheap tight end play if Cameron Brate is out. The tight end position is very tough this week, especially for cash games. I don't know where the optimal way to go is. I feel like it's going to be to go cheap. I don't think you want to pay up at tight end this week. So guys like Tanner Hudson, we're going to talk about Jack Doyle later in the video. These really cheap, like 3K, 2,500 tight ends, I think are going to be where we want to go at the tight end position. So I want to keep an eye on that Cameron Brate news. If he winds up sitting along with O.J. Howard, who's already out, then maybe Tanner Hudson for 2,500 will become a solid value play. But let's go ahead and take a look at some of my favorite plays for this Week 9 slate. Start off at quarterback. I usually try and give 2 quarterbacks in every video. The first quarterback I like is Josh Allen. Josh Allen, 6,500 on DraftKings, $27 on Yahoo. So this is a great spot for the Bills and for Josh Allen at home against a terrible Redskins defense. Allen has put together a very solid floor this season, but we have yet to see a true ceiling game from him. I think his biggest game this season was like 22 DraftKings points or 23 DK points. He's been in that like 18 to 20 range pretty much all season. You're getting a very solid floor from him, but haven't had that like 30-point game that we know Allen's capable of. If the Redskins can keep this game close, which is obviously a big if, I mean, they're starting Dwayne Haskins, and Dwayne Haskins when he's played in that Giants game. He just did not look good at all. So it's likely that this game is possibly a blowout, and the Bills just like blow out the Redskins. But if the Redskins can somehow at least put some points on the board and force the Bills to at least throw a little bit late in the game, we could finally get a true ceiling game from Josh Allen that we've really been waiting for. I think even at 6,500 on DraftKings, he's still in play. His price tag doesn't seem to move even after he doesn't have like really big games. He just kind of sticks in that same price range, which makes me think people really aren't going to look to him. They're either going to like pay up to the top for like Russell Wilson, or they're just going to go down to some of the value quarterbacks we have. So Josh Allen should be pretty low owned on DraftKings. On Yahoo, I think he's probably one of the top quarterback plays. At only $27, I think he's very underpriced over there. I do like him for tournaments, though, on DK. I don't think he's going to be very popular at all. Now we're going to take a look at a value quarterback I like on DraftKings. So Phillip Rivers is 5,100 on DK. He's the same price as Josh Allen on Yahoo. I don't have much interest in Rivers on Yahoo. I'd just much rather play Josh Allen for the same price tag. I think, though, if you're looking below $6K for a value quarterback this week, there are two that really stand out to me. One of them is Phillip Rivers, obviously, and the other one is Derek Carr. I think I do slightly prefer to go to Rivers. He is cheaper. He's $400 cheaper than Carr. I think he's the much more talented quarterback as well. I think he has a higher floor. I think he's my preferred cash game option. He's got all his weapons fully healthy right now. Keenan Allen practiced in full this week, so he's fully healthy. He's got Mike Williams. He's got Hunter Henry. He's got both of his running backs. The Chargers, just with their offensive weapons, are fully healthy right now. There's a new play caller for the Chargers as well. They did fire. I can't remember who they fired. I think it was their offensive coordinator, whoever was calling the plays. So there's a new play caller. Maybe that helps Rivers. I do expect a solid game from him. Like I said, I think he's viable for cash at this price tag. Even if he gets you like 15, 16 DraftKings points, that's pretty good at only 5,100 for cash games at least. It's going to be between him and Carr on who I use in cash. Probably going to wind up going to Rivers just because I like his spot a little bit more. At home against the Packers, this is definitely a game that could potentially shoot out, and I expect a pretty solid game from Phillip Rivers. But now we're going to take a look at Dalvin Cook at the running back position. Dalvin Cook, very expensive on both sides, but there should be enough value to get him in. He's $9,500 on DraftKings, $39 on Yahoo. We do have value opening up as of Friday. We got T.Y. Hilton out, which is going to open up some value. We got James Conner doubtful, which is going to open up Jalen Samuels as a value play. It should be pretty easy to get those stud running backs in, whether you want to go to Cook or Christian McCaffrey. I think both are viable. I think in cash games this week, it makes a lot of sense just to go full team jam them in and jam in Cook and CMC together because there is enough value to do so. I was building out a lineup before I started recording. I was able to make a lineup that I liked that had both guys together. If I just have to choose one, though, I think I'm going to side with Dalvin Cook here. Cook's in a great spot against a very bad run defense. The Chiefs' run defense this season has been towards the bottom of the league. And this is also a game that projects to be high-scoring and competitive, which means Dalvin Cook should be in line for his full running back snaps. We've seen some games earlier this season, Dalvin Cook doesn't get like full 80-85% of the running back snaps. They do give Madison some work because the Vikings are up like 3 touchdowns. I don't think this is going to be a game where the Vikings are going to be up 3 touchdowns. They're going to have to use Cook in this game as much as they can. He's going to be used in the passing game if they're trailing. If they do have a lead, they'll just feed Dalvin Cook. He's a true workhorse running back. He's going to get 15 to 20 carries. He's going to get 5 to 8 targets. I mean, love Dalvin Cook here. I think I slightly prefer him over McCaffrey, but in cash game this week, I'm going to try my best to get both guys in together just because of the floor that both guys give you, and obviously they have incredible ceilings as well. But if I can't get to Cook and McCaffrey, I think I'm fine dropping down to Nick Chubb. $7,300 on DraftKings, $31 on Yahoo. This does seem like a tough spot for Chubb. Road game going into Denver seems like a pretty bad spot, but I just can't ignore the amount of volume that Chubb is getting every week. He's pretty much locked into 20 carries every week. The pass game usage is a bit concerning. It seems to fluctuate from week to week. Some weeks he'll get like only 1 or 2 targets. Some weeks he'll get 6 targets. You just never know how Chubb's going to be used in the passing game, but the running game work seems to be there. I mean, he's getting 15 to 20 carries every week. He's gone for 100 yards in pretty sure 6 of 9 games this season. So Chubb's giving you a very solid floor this season. The ceiling is there as well if he can find the end zone. In those games where Chubb goes for 30, 40 DraftKings points, it's because he gets into the end zone multiple times. There's obviously a chance he could do that here. With the Broncos starting Brandon Allen, it's pretty likely that the Browns are going to have a lead in this game. going to be able to throw. They are favorites even on the road. So I really like Nick Chubb. I think he's very solid this week. If you want to go to him in cash, I don't think that's bad at all. If you're dropping down from like McCaffrey to Chubb or Cook to Chubb, that's going to allow you to probably fit in one of those expensive receivers if you want to go that route. So I'm fine doing that. I'd probably prefer to go with McCaffrey and Cook together, but if you need to drop down Chubb, I think it's totally okay. But now we're going to talk about Jalen Samuels. I think Jalen Samuels is one of the clear value plays this week. He's $4K on DraftKings, $12 on Yahoo. So with James Conner doubtful, I do expect Jalen Samuels to be probably the highest owned player on the slate, and that doesn't bother me at all. He's a smash play. Even though he's going to be 60-70% owned, I think he's still a great play, even at those ownership numbers. Conner and Snell are both expected to be out, so that leaves Samuels as the last healthy available running back for the Steelers. They do have Trey Edmonds, but they don't seem to want to use Trey Edmonds. They actually want to use Samuels. They want him to be involved in the passing game, in the running game. He is a great pass-catching back, which is so valuable on DraftKings. Getting those running backs that can catch 6 to 8 balls is so valuable, especially when they're only 4K. This guy should be in line for as much work as he can handle. At home against the Colts, I do like this matchup for Samuels. I like that he's playing at home. Pittsburgh they are favorites here, so he should be in line for a ton of volume. And in my opinion, you're just getting too cute if you decide to fade Samuels this week. I think he projects for probably like 16 to 18 DraftKings points, and that's just so hard to fade at only 4K. Even if Samuels goes for like 18 DK points, which honestly feels like a floor game from him here, you're still probably in bad shape if he gets 18, and he has the chance to go for like 25, 30. So I love Samuels. I'm going to play him, and I'd probably play him in every lineup, honestly. Even if I was making 100 lineups, I'd probably play him in every lineup. I think he's that good of a value this week. But now let's take a look at some receivers I like. So starting off at the top, Tyler Lockett I do like as an expensive option this week. $7,500 on DraftKings, $28 on Yahoo. So I think the optimal strategy in cash games this week at least is going to be to pay up for two expensive running backs like it is most weeks. I mean, most weeks in cash games I try and pay up for all the expensive running backs that I can. I think that's going to be the way to go this week. So I don't know if I'll be able to get Lockett in my cash game lineup, but I definitely want to have exposure to him in tournaments. This Tampa Bay secondary is so bad. They have no chance of keeping up with Lockett. He should definitely be able to burn them. And as long as Tampa Bay can keep this game close, this is a game that does have a lot of shootout potential. Only reason I shy away from rostering guys like Russell Wilson is because we've seen so many times this season, if the Seahawks have a 2-touchdown lead, they're just going to run the ball as much as they can, which is obviously a concern here. If they get a big lead in this game, they're just going to feed Chris Carson, which maybe cuts into Russell Wilson's ceiling a bit. But if Tampa Bay can keep this close, if Jameis Winston and the Bucs can put some points on the board, then Tyler Lockett, Russell Wilson, these guys have really high ceilings. And I think for GPPs, Tyler Lockett is one of the top plays at the receiver position. But for cash games, I think dropping down to Keenan Allen makes a ton of sense. Keenan Allen, $6,400 on DraftKings, $26 on Yahoo. I do love Allen this week for both cash and GPPs, just given his price tag, and also he has practiced in full this week, so that means he's fully healthy right now. He was limited last week. He still got 10 targets last week, even though he was limited, but he practiced in full. He's going to be full go here against the Packers. He's got back-to-back weeks with double-digit targets, and although the game log isn't very pretty, the volume is still there every week for Keenan Allen. At the beginning of the season, Allen was one of the top targeted receivers just to start the season off. I know through like 3 weeks he had like 48 or 50 targets. I mean, he was getting targeted a ton. It's kind of dropped down a bit, but I expect the volume to still be there. I mean, he's going to see 6 to 8 targets. That pretty much is his floor for targets, and I think he has the chance to get 10, 12, 13 targets. I mean, Phillip Rivers just locks into Keenan Allen, and now that Keenan Allen's fully healthy, getting him at $6,400 is such a crazy discount in a game that probably has a lot of shootout potential against the Packers. Love Keenan Allen this week. I think he's one of the top receiver plays, and one of the reasons, like I said, I won't be able to get to Lockett is because Allen's $1,000 cheaper and projects for just as much volume as Tyler Lockett, so that's why I like dropping down to Keenan Allen. But now a value receiver I'll be looking to is Devante Parker. Devante Parker is $4,400 on DraftKings, $13 on Yahoo. So I think there are a lot of viable cheap wide receivers this week, and there are definitely a lot of them from this game. There's a lot of good receiver plays on both sides of this game. Obviously Parker, Preston Williams, Robbie Anderson, Jamison Crowder, I think are all viable receiver plays this week. Parker, finally in a good matchup and also has a quarterback that is targeting him consistently week to week. Just the last 2 weeks with Fitzpatrick at quarterback, Devante Parker's gotten 10 and 8 targets, so a total of 18 targets the last 2 weeks, gone for 16 and 11 DraftKings points. He's given you a very solid floor for this price tag, and some of those matchups were pretty tough. This is a much better matchup at home against the Jets. So I love Devante Parker. I think he's one of the top value receivers, definitely cash game viable. Preston Williams, I think, is also a very strong play for $200 less. If you need the $200 in cash, I don't mind dropping down from Parker to Williams. I think I'd rather go to Parker because I feel like his volume's a little bit more secure. But both guys are very strong value plays. It's crazy that I have a lot of interest in Dolphins players this week, but getting a matchup at home against the Jets, that'll do it. So that's it for receiver plays. Let's go ahead and cover a tight end play I like, and then we'll look at a defense before we end the video. So at tight end, I'm definitely looking to Jack Doyle as a value tight end. $3K on DraftKings, $12 on Yahoo. So T.Y. Hilton has already been ruled out for this game. Eric Ebron also has been limited in practice all week, so there's a chance Ebron doesn't play as well. With Hilton out, that does open up plenty of targets for other pass catchers. I expect Doyle to be one of the biggest beneficiaries. I think Zach Pascal is going to benefit from T.Y. Hilton being out. If Ebron plays, I think him and Doyle both are going to benefit, and we might see them play a lot together. We're going to probably see a lot of two tight end sets if Ebron and Doyle, or if Ebron's able to play, so they're both going to be out there. But if Ebron winds up sitting, I mean, Jack Doyle is probably like the best tight end play at only $3K on DraftKings. He'd probably project for close to 8 targets, and getting a tight end that projects for 8 targets for $3K is really hard to avoid, especially in cash games. Just looking at the tight end position this week, it's very tough. There's a lot of tight ends that have been priced up, like Hunter Henry, Darren Waller. These are guys that we've been playing every week, but now they're up to like 6K, 6,300. It's going to be really hard to spend those salaries on those guys. So dropping down a tight end to some of these viable options like Doyle, Noah Fant, I think is a good cheap tight end. Maybe even Greg Olsen. Like I said at the beginning of the video, Tanner Hudson could be viable if Cameron Brate is out. There's a lot of good cheap tight ends, and I think Jack Doyle is probably going to be my favorite guy, especially if Ebron's out. I think he's the clear tight end value play this week. But now let's take a look at a cheap defense before we end the video. So I do like the Steelers as a cheap defense this week at home for only $2,400 on DraftKings, $16 on Yahoo. So although I do really like Jack Doyle and I have a lot of interest in him, I think the Steelers defense is probably one of the better value defenses this week on DraftKings, and I think it's definitely fine to play both guys together. If you want to play Doyle and the Steelers defense in the same lineup, I think it's totally viable. The Steelers are getting to face a Colts team without its top wide receiver. They're missing T.Y. Hilton, so they're pretty thin with their offensive players. I mean, they're going to be running out Brissett, Zach Pascal. They're just not going to have those same weapons that they normally have. Plus, they're on the road as well. The Colts tend to play much better at home than on the road. Steelers getting to play at home here. Steelers defense has been very consistent from week to week. They're getting a lot of pressure on the quarterback. I think they make for a great cheap cash defense this week. On Yahoo, you could probably look elsewhere than the Steelers. You do have the Eagles for $14 at home against the Bears. I think the Seahawks are at home against Tampa Bay and are also $14. So I wouldn't mind dropping down from the Steelers to those two defenses, but on DraftKings at $2,400, the Steelers are by far my favorite value defense. But that's it for my Week 9 plays, guys. Hopefully you did enjoy this video. Hopefully it did help you. If you enjoyed, like always, I'd appreciate it if you drop a like. Thanks so much for watching. You'll notice on the screen right now, I do have one of my more recent videos popping up on the screen if you want to check that video out. You can also hover over my YouTube logo to subscribe to the channel. And as always, feel free to leave any comments, any questions, any feedback down below in the comment section. That is always appreciated. But good luck this week, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Peace.